Hello, hello, hello. How we doing? Welcome to another episode of Mindful LCA. Love, change, acceptance. How's it going, Norma?
I am tired today.
Tired? Did you have a lot of clients? Did you have a lot
Uh,
of clients?
no, I actually only had three, but I had a really hard time sleeping. We should do an episode on sleeping because, yes, we're struggling on that end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. How are you?
Doing. I know. I'm gonna elaborate on the good part, right? I always want to say
Yeah, I'm
good.
like, you can't. You made a rule that good was not an acceptable answer, so we're not
uh,
accepting good from now on.
I am. How am I? How would I? At the moment, I'm chilling, I guess. Just trying to learn how to be productive again. Like I was telling, like I fell off the wagon like I was before, but just going little by little. Still trying to find that. Still trying to deal with the emotional eating and try to figure that stuff out. Started going to the gym again, so back at the 5 a.m. club, and that's been going good. Not as strong as I used to be, but I'll get
Gross.
back there. I'll get back there. And as you can see, we have a guest today, which if I put on a hat, I'm pretty sure would look pretty similar.
Pretty like the same human. Yes.
Says my brother Herman. So same question to you. How are you doing? And the rule is you can't say
You
good.
can't say good, apparently.
That's a good one. That's a good one to use. You guys check that one off. So,
Yes.
no, I'm actually I'm doing great. If good is not an option, great would
That's
be the
a
one.
cop out. No.
Nah, but I mean, I'm content with where I'm at in life right now.
Okay.
Definitely has its challenges, but I'm definitely content, is what I can say. Uh, we have different phases in life where things go in a roller coaster, and right now I'm content. So yeah.
Nice,
Damn,
nice.
he's already given us wisdom about life, roller coaster, ups and downs. I love it. We're off to a, we can't say good start. We're off to an insightful start.
Yes,
There
yes.
you
All
go.
right, let's get the mission statement. Our goal is to create a safe space for exploring mental health topics, sharing stories, and learning strategies for well being, fostering empathy, understanding, growth, and most importantly, love. And as always, the email mindfulpodcastliving@gmail.com for questions, concerns. You want to be a guest. We're available on, the episodes are on Spotify and YouTube. Go ahead and follow, subscribe. You can rate us also on Spotify. You follow us and rate us. All that helps, spread the word of the work that we're trying to do here. And yeah, so today we're just going to talk about, because I know you've been going to therapy, German, for a couple of years already. How long has it been?
Yeah, I want to say it's been, well, not even a couple of years. I think it's actually, yeah, about a year, 8 months, a year and eight
Good,
months. So it hasn't been a long journey, but it's been an awesome one. So
good, good.
yeah, a year and eight
Yeah, so
months.
my first question is, what led you to consider starting therapy? Oh shit, my bad. I forgot to
Um,
introduce you.
I
Forget
haven't
that.
even introduced myself,
No,
bro.
I
You
know.
don't
introduce.
even
I
know
was
who
Tell
gonna
I
say,
yourself
I'm
am.
a little
like,
bit.
damn,
I'm
like
I'm, I'm ready to
you
roll. I'm
went
ready to
like
I'm
roll.
right
already,
in.
I'm ready to roll
heck
today.
yeah. I didn't even get wine and dined or nothing. Straight to it.
Ni un cafecito le
I know,
invitaste.
huh?
Mm, yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Tell us who you are.
So, my name is German Valencia, and I was born in Mexico, and I am a father of two beautiful babies, two baby girls, and happy married husband to my wife, and a brother to two siblings. I'm the middle man, the middle child, the troublesome. Um, and I know where we're going with that, right? We giving hints. Um, and a son, right? So I'm also now venturing into my career, which is in sales. So that has shaped up my life quite a bit, and we're here. We're here. So
Nice.
Thank you
Okay.
so
yeah.
much Joining us. I'm assuming you must have a full life with baby.
I'm getting an issue with both of your audio. Both of you are kind of low, and they comes in and out. Try again, and then I'll pause it again. Can both of you test it again?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, that's better. It was just weird. It's like coming in and out, like the
I
volume
heard
was
that.
moving up and
I heard
down.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Oh, was it
happening to you
me?
too. All
Am
right,
I the
let's keep going.
problem? Am I
No,
the
no, no, because
problem?
it was happening to him too. So it's
Okay.
not you.
All
Yeah,
right. Cool. Then it's you, Steve. You're the problem.
Yeah.
always the problem.
Always
Deal
the
with the shit.
problem.
All
what, I was,
right.
what I was saying was that I forgot what I was saying. That thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your time because I imagine life with two babies it can be very very full. So I appreciate your time.
Hmm.
No problem.
All right. So yeah, how did you? What got you interested in therapy?
Well, therapy. What got me interested in therapy? Um, Therapy was always something that was mentioned, but always looked down upon in a way. Um, and it was something where it's like, I'm not crazy. I don't need that. I got this. Who does that? You know, you got something. You got to be broken to go to therapy. And in a way, it was something where I never really knew what it was. I knew the concept, but I never knew what it would lead to. So actually, my wife was the one who convinced me to take therapy, and it was more because we were having issues as a couple where it wasn't nothing major, but it was the little things that would add up,
Hmm.
and we were having trouble understanding, expressing our feelings, getting across to each other, listening, right? And it it was something where it was needed in order to really save our relationship at one point. And I didn't want to lose nothing. I didn't want to lose what I had because of me avoiding to explore my mental health, right, and how that would really benefit me. So I got put on by my lady, and she put me on, and yeah, that's how it kind of played out.
Shout
It
out to
was
the
more,
wife. Woo woo.
yeah, yeah. So big shout out to her.
So
Right.
then did it start as a then couples therapy? Is that how
Yes
it
and
started?
no. So initially, I reached out myself for my personal experience with it. So no, but she opened the pathway, which I had a therapist on my own. Um, Due to not having the accessibility of, how do I say, insurance wise, I couldn't necessarily per se afford a therapist, or I
Mhm,
didn't know, well, how do you even move forward with simply having that as a resource? Like I don't even
mhm,
I'm not that responsible one. She's the responsible one, right? She's the one that does the whole bills and all that. So she knows how that works. And when it came to just setting up an appointment or none of that, I was like, well, let's do it. But I didn't know what to do. I was like, I'm ready, but what's the first step? What I got to do? And
mhm,
so I reached out myself because through my job, I was able to obtain a insurance, and which opened that door, right? And I reached out myself, and I got my therapist. We did one-on-ones, and the therapist, um, let's just say, it wasn't the best experience, or I didn't get what I was hoping for with that therapist, and
no.
so it was kind of it felt like tasks and homework, and like read this book, do this. It was more. I almost felt like homework, right? Which, in a way, I kind of understood what she was doing, but I didn't feel that connection of like being able to express or share my life in a deeper perspective. Um,
Thank you so
so
much. Can I
yeah,
interrupt you right here because I think this is something that is really really important for people to know, right? Like because one, the first thing, right, that you mentioned at the beginning was, well, therapy, like, yeah, it was like a thing that was mentioned, but it was never really an option because I'm like, I'm not crazy. Like, only broken people go there, right? So, like, the stigma that already comes with it. And then you're like, all right, fuck it, because I don't want to lose my wife. I don't want to lose my family. Like, I'm willing to go through that. And then you encounter this experience of like that connection part of like, it wasn't really there. Like, it was just like homework and do this, do that, but not really like getting that vibe from her.
Hmm.
So to the people out there, please, 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 if you find a therapist that you are not vibing with, please switch. Please switch. I promise you, like, and maybe not all therapists, but the if you are honest with the therapist and you let them know, like, hey, I don't think this is like working out, either we can try a new approach or I'm not going to come to see you. I much rather hear somebody tell me like, I'm not vibing with you, and be like, great, I will give you referrals for to somebody that you might vibe with, because a lot of the change that happens in therapy has to do with the connection. So thank you so much for bringing that up. Don't give up. I'm assuming you didn't give up and then maybe you found somebody else. Did you talk to her? How did you manage that?
Yeah. If we're keeping it 100, right? We're keeping it real. I did
Yes.
lose hope. I did lose hope. I was like, man, this is not what I was expecting from therapy. It feels very passive. It feels like I meet with this individual for an hour and a half, and not a lot gets really. It allowed me to vent, but um, yeah, it just wasn't a good fit. And so for me, then we were like, well, let's explore the couples therapy in hopes to find somebody better.
Mm.
And that's exactly what happened. It was something where we were like, okay, well, I gave it a shot. I don't want to give up on it. What other options do we have? Well, at that same time, she was able to get the therapist, and the therapist was willing to do a couples, because somebody's got to pay, right? And through Karen, we were able to obtain that, and he was willing to do a therapy with couples therapy. And so then I was like, all right, well, let's give it a shot. Like, once again, my first impression was not great, so I walked into it with like low standards, right? And it took a little bit to kind of get the ball rolling, but this is our fucking guy. I was like, okay, 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 and hey, we're that's my man's right there. Shout out to him, and we're vibing, we're vibing.
That's good. Yeah, like Norma said, is important because I think people are gonna think of the idea that well, that this is therapy, this just sucks and it's not for me. So instead of saying this therapist is not the one for me, then they say therapy as a whole is not for me. You get me? So it's
Right, right.
important that you make that distinction to be like, this is not the therapist for me versus this is not the thing. Okay, since we're not gonna even, well, actually you could compare a little bit. So what was your
Yeah.
first session like with the first person that you went to, and then afterwards what was the session with this guy that, like, now that you say is doing a better job? Like, walk us through like the bad experience, and then what was the difference, like your first time with the old one and then your first time with the new one. What was the difference, and what made the second one so much better?
I think the first one was just very robotic. It was very to the book. It didn't feel like it was an attempt to really get to know me. It was like, this is my role, and I'm supposed to ask these questions. So answer these questions in this order, and then I can tell you how to move past that, or progress. Right. So it was very planned out. Like, I already knew, like, she already knew what she was gonna say next without even fully, you know, allowing to allow that conversation to really play out. And I would kind of share some of my struggles, as being myself, and some of the challenges that I would face. And it just wasn't no connection.
Mhm.
And it could have been the culture differences that we also had, because with our therapist now, he's also Latino, so he
Mhm.
understands. He'll bring in the bilingual aspect. He'll bring in
Mhm.
the culture from la raza, and how we have very bad perspectives and bad tendencies, and I was able to relate, and it kicked off and it worked out great because with him it was more like, okay, cool, this guy is dope. He's not a he's not a referee. He's more of a coach, right? Because the other lady was like, "Oh, that's not right. Oh, that's you shouldn't do that," and it's like kind of like calling anything out. I was like, "I know. That's why I'm kind of sharing it."
You're like,
But then,
fucking dog, that's why I'm here.
yeah, yeah. And so on the flip side, with my guy, he was more of a coach. He was like, "All right, let me hear you out. Let's run back the play, and let's see how we can plan. And I think you should take these different approaches and really analyze why the other person, you know, whatever the scenario was, to have a different perspective, and that's what made a bigger difference." Yeah.
So it's
Mm.
the same guy, if I'm understanding correctly, the same guy you go for couples is the same one you go on your own.
No, so it was a different one. So right now I haven't done my own,
Okay.
but it's the more of the time consumption of it, and because we're just content with couples therapy, and he's also willing to like, hey, this is going on. This has nothing to do with my wife, but what do you think about this? And then it's like, we can freely express multiple things to him, not just strictly couples therapy, but that's the main point and the main
Okay.
focus point. But we can pivot with him, and so
Yeah.
Mhm.
that's what makes it yeah, that's what makes it awesome there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I talked about it, but I had a similar experience to you where it was backwards though. Like the first therapist I had was really good. Same thing, Latino guy and stuff. And then the second time that I try to find somebody through like video calls, like this one, after the first session, I was like, oh, this fucking lady figured everything out in one session. Like she solved everything for me like instantly, and I was like, what the fuck? Okay, we're done then. It's like, okay, cool, I don't need to do that shit. It was like she wasn't even letting me like express myself, and then it was like, or fucking talk about the situation as much, and she just went into solution right away. Oh, this is the shit you gotta do. So like my thing was like, okay, but what the fuck, then it's already done, then it's settled, cool, we're done.
Yeah,
All right, I don't need to fucking see you anymore. That shit was like, it just was whack,
yeah,
you know. But I already had that
yeah,
knowledge of what's, that's good for you, and some people that don't work for you, because it could be personality as well, like you said, the culture, that stuff. And then also you just don't click with them. How often do you go to the session now?
so for us it used to be weekly. It really depends on what events are happening in our life. We have like I said, there's different weeks where we're busier. There's weeks where we're a little more emotional. There's weeks where we have some struggles, whether it be financial, whether it be time management. We just hit all the topics. And so
Mm.
it used to be weekly, every week. Then it spread out to, well, man, you guys are killing it. We don't need to meet as often, so let's meet every 2 weeks. And then from there, we're meeting pretty much like once a month. And
Okay.
so it's kind of allowed for us to have more conversation on, well, instead of just going over things like, oh, this week went great, like we don't have nothing to really talk about. Okay, well, let's leave some more space in between the appointments, and then more things happen, and that's what allows for a better, well, it's been a while, and if we need to go back, because we've done it where, you know what, I think we need to do 2 weeks this next time. Let's do 2 weeks, and then so we've kind of run it back, and yeah, the good thing is that he's flexible, and allows us to kind of take the lead on when and what, and he will recommend, you know what, things are a little tight right now, things are, let me check in next week, see where you guys are at, and so you know that's
Yeah.
that's how we kind of roll, but it's it's
Okay.
it's that kind of, yeah.
Do do you happen to know, because I'm trying to maybe this is for my own therapist brain. Do you know by any chance what type of therapy they both did? Like the first woman that you went to, and then the guy that you're going to now? Like their therapeutic approaches, if you will?
As like, can you give an example to see if maybe I can understand that question a little better?
Yeah, yeah. So the the type of therapy that, like, the framework that they work with, like, for example, like me, when I work with couples, I use like emotionally focused therapy. The therapist that Steve went to uses cognitive behavioral therapy. Do you happen to know what kind they do?
That's a good question. I don't even, to be honest, I wouldn't be able to. Yeah, I'm not too sure.
That's okay. I
Yeah.
just wanted
I'm
to
not
see
too
if you
sure.
were you could
Yeah, yeah,
confirm
yeah,
a bias of mine.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm not
wait.
too sure to be honest.
I was gonna ask you based on that to you, Norma. So then, can you give quickly examples of what the difference, or like maybe that there's a list? Because as we talked about before, something that can work for somebody might not work for somebody else in the approach of the style, right? So, like, can you name a few different ones and just like a
Yeah.
little quick description of them?
Of theories that
Yeah, or like different frameworks, like you mentioned,
yeah,
just
yeah,
so
yeah.
that people know that there's different styles.
Yes, there's different styles for sure. Like the I think the most famous one, if you will, is like CBT or cognitive behavioral therapy. Like that's a lot of like how therapy started. Then we can move on to like solution focus, where it's you do anywhere from 8 to 12 sessions, and it's like I need help with this specific issue. So then we're like, okay, we're just looking for solutions right now. Like, I don't give a fuck about your feelings, I don't give a fuck about like your background, your family, whatever, like just this issue, let's get it out of the way. There's narrative therapy, where they will use more like storytelling. But it's also like experiential, like the type of therapy that I do. The what type of therapy I do is mostly like emotionally focused therapy, where we talk about like your attachment style, how you deal with emotions. There is now this is because well, we can get into like other things, but like Mike, the guest that we had in Spanish, he does psychoanalysis, but that's more of like a psychology framework, where I'm not a psychologist, I'm a marriage and family therapist. So it's very different. There's also like IFS, which is internal family systems, where they talk about like different parts of you. Um, so it's like, okay, you have like a inner critic, you have like a self-sabotager, and you work with those different parts to see which one's taking over, and then maybe like tell it like, hey, you don't need to work as hard, like chill the fuck out. Oh, and I didn't mention with CBT, it's mostly like very cognitive, talks about like, okay, let's think of different ways on how to approach this thing so we can change your behavior. But it does incorporate the emotion, but it doesn't focus so much on the emotion. It's more of like your brain's fucking with you, so let's like figure that shit out.
Yeah,
um
like a
I don't
lot
know.
in awareness, I would say.
Mhm.
Yeah, just focus on awareness. Cool. Just once again, just so people know that there's different types. If something's not working, then you go from there. All right, let's get to the nitty gritty, como dice Nacho Libre. How has therapy helped you understand yourself better?
Man, that's a good question. It's it's really allowed for me to get a grip of not only understanding myself, but allowing to understand others, in the sense of where something that I love about therapy is the aha moments of like,
Mhm.
oh shit, you know what? You just hit something that I never even tripped about.
Mhm.
And then I'll sit there and I'm like, why the fuck have I not thought of that? Or how did I miss that this whole time? Um so in it's really allowed for me to identify who who I really am, right? It's allowed for me to feel, for allowed for me to feel. I've
Yes.
done my share of feeling like I can express myself and not be limiting, right? Because I feel like as a man, we tend to hold back on emotions, um, whether that be crying or overexcitement, right? Because shit, like even today, like recently, I'll just sit back, watch my girls just kind of do their thing, and I start to tear up because I'm just like, holy shit, like this is reality. This is where I'm at. Like I'm a girl dad. I got two girls. I'm happy and I'm rich, man. I'm wealthy in so many different aspects. Of course, we would want the most, but it's like we're very wealthy with love and what is in front of us, the relationships that I carry, not only with myself, the way I carry myself, the energy I give, the return that I get, just simply allowing to feel love and give that love, because this world needs it. This world needs it, and I've learned that you know you have to be patient, you have to be understanding, you have to listen, which was the hardest shit in the world for me to understand. Even coming from our background where it's three boys and we're alphas, and that was difficult, right? It's difficult to listen because you just want to share your side, and it's like, I got this, but here, and you're not paying attention to what's being projected to you, and that throws things off. But to answer your question, yeah, it's allowed me to definitely feel and share the love. So it's
Good.
pretty awesome.
Can you share one of those aha moments that you mentioned?
Hold
Just to kind
on,
of get us
hold on. I think you're going too fast. I no, I
wants
will
to team
not let
culture
this
too.
happen because I mean, I'm also having like emotional reactions here, so I'm also trying to like gather myself because I think like one of the things that you mentioned, right? Like this part, so many important things that you're talking about. So thank you for sharing that part of like as men we're not allowed to talk about emotions a lot, right? Like whether it's the hard emotions or like the overexcitement. And then when you say like I am so wealthy and not talking about money of just
Mm,
I look at my girls and just God, I'm a girl dad.
mm,
And the the wealth that comes from that, being able to give and receive love, I'm like, that is exactly what
yeah,
we're as a therapist, right? And even like within this podcast is that's what we're looking for. That is exactly what we're looking for, of like those little moments where you look at your family members, you look at your friends, you look at all of the relationships that you have, and you're like, fuck, I am fucking wealthy because I have so much. I am so abundant with all of these things that I'm like, yes. Yes, that is why we do therapy. That is why healing is so so important. And the part of like listening as a man, right? Because you are taught to be the provider, to be the one like el que resuelve, like get shit done. And so taking that step back and be like, well, hold on. Take your time to actually take in what other people are telling you. So thank
yeah,
you. Just thank you.
yeah,
Yeah. No, definitely. And I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but like I told you, I mean, a lot of times, that's what me and you get along because we understand each other like on a different level now, right? Like we're me and you, like, or at least I can talk for myself. Like you allow me to be myself, right?
yeah,
You can hold this space for me, and we get emotional and we have those conversations. And I think that's why our relationship has evolved through the years, right? Because just like every other brother, we used to fucking like fight all the time and like hate each other and shit like that. But over the last, I want to say, maybe 3 4 years, we've become really close because of that reason, that we've both kind of
yeah,
understood this shit and kind of figure it out. That allows us to like have, I think, as best as good as a relationship as we ever had throughout our lives. I think we're both
yeah,
at that moment.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. now you can go into, tell us those aha moments. What are some of those breakthroughs that you weren't even aware of, that when your therapist was like, "Hey, this," and you're like,
I think the one that jumps out every time I have this conversation is we were having a discussion, right? And we were kind of going back and forth as the therapist allowed for us to kind of share our 2 cents. And me and my wife were going back and forth. And, she said something that kind of threw me off. And then I went defensive, right? And I wasn't allowing myself to listen, which then one tactic that he uses is like, can you repeat what she said, what she's trying to get across to you? And I was like, fuck. I was so worried about me trying to, counter that I didn't even catch that. That was the small one that kind of led up to the big one, which and I'm fine with sharing it, but it was more of like he then was like, hold on, before you proceed, I've noticed that you consistently get really defensive when you get triggered by this. And I was like, I get triggered by that? What do you mean? I mean, I was just kind of defending what I was feeling. He's like, no, the last 4 times this happened, you've been triggered and you jump into a defensive state. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I'm trying to understand what you're saying, but I'm still emotionally invested in what just happened. And so then I'm like, and then he's kind of breaking it down, and I'm like, holy shit, that is true, because I just had flashbacks to every single time that has been told to me, and I really get upset because that's not what I want others to think of me.
"Mm,
And what that aha moment really related was when it was something like, "Oh, you did this," and you know, and if I didn't do it, I'll be offended to shit. I'll be offended like a motherfucker. I'm like, "How dare you think of me like that? Don't have that version of me in your mind. There's no way that I could have done that." And then I was just thinking like, "Whoa, what?" And he broke down even further down as we kept the therapy sessions going. Was like, "Well, let's break it down, right? It seems like in your past, you've consistently been told something along these lines that eventually you almost identified as it, and then you now really don't associate with it. So it's a trigger for you to feel like somebody else has that idea of you, if that kind of makes sense."
mhm, mhm,
And so that aha moment was like, holy shit. Now, this argument that just happened, or this past two experiences, the time I was with my brothers, the time I was with my dad, when my mom did this, when my dad did this, when my brother mentioned that, all those, I was like, holy shit, that makes sense. And I was just like blown away. And I told Karen, like, holy shit, this is fucking awesome. I never really got to experience, and I now then when that happens, I'm like, okay, this is right. We hitting that trigger, and as long as I'm self aware that that's there and that's my trigger, I've learned to be okay with it, accept it, because that can be somebody else's expression, right? That can be somebody else's point of view at the time, but it doesn't make it a fact, and I have to be okay with that because I can't allow for anyone else really to kind of put labels, because that's more of an opinion, what what they kind of feel or see at the moment, and I would take it to heart. And so that's kind of what one of the examples there that really yeah had me for my head spinning for a while, because I sat on it, thought about it, session was over, and I was still over there like, holy shit, that's a trip. So yeah,
mhm.
yeah,
Good, good, good. And this part of recognizing, right? Because many people think like, okay, I found this out about myself, so then that must mean that there's no longer space for that trigger to happen because I should know better now, right?
right,
So, but then that part where you're saying, okay, now I'm able to catch it and be like, okay, there's that trigger there. And I can recognize that it's triggering me, but I don't necessarily have to take that so personally of like, I don't need to put those labels on myself, and just how that slowing down allows you to then react differently, right? Like recognizing that those triggers are going to happen anyway, but
Yeah.
just moving with that awareness is what's going to make the difference in how you navigate and you respond.
Yeah, because
Hmm.
of course we would want everything to be smooth sailing always, right? That's
Mhm.
just a fuck. That'd be a dream to just always be just smooth sailing, but it's not always like that. And so the the not necessarily caution, but the awareness of,
Mhm.
well, shit's gonna hit the fan every now and then, and we just
Mhm.
have to roll with the punches.
Mhm.
And there's gonna be different grades of fucking troublesome, but having a good grip of things and knowing that, okay, the more in control I am at the time, and that doesn't mean don't feel, that just means be aware, be in the
Yes.
moment, be grounded, right? Because for me, one way that I put it is, so like, I'm well grounded to what's going on right now. Shit's not going my way, but guess what? It's just the Thursday afternoon, and I'm gonna go to bed, and we're gonna have a better day tomorrow. And then you wake up with that positive energy and kind of just move along, because it comes in phases, right? You can't, even the happy moments don't last forever. So cherish them, like, live it up, live it to the fullest, and that's what has impacted me in that sense. Yeah.
Hmm. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think if I'm not mistaken, the ego has a lot of the hit there, right? Where, at least for me, is the same thing. Where like as soon as and something that I'm paying attention to on how do I communicate with other people, is that part is like, okay, how do I approach it in a way that you don't feel upset, that you don't get hurt, that way you don't try to bypass the shit of like trying to get them to not be raise that wall and become overprotective and this shit. It's kind of something that I'm learning about myself still, and then how I carry and how I talk to other people. How do we go with that so that we put that to the side? And I think that might be like, I think for myself, the one of the biggest growth, and like I definitely see it on you too, German, of like that part of like you're able to take criticism now, right? Like we're able to take criticism, and it's not just like all black and white of like, nah, you don't just deny that you're wrong, or that there's something you could improve on, or something that I think is like a big growth when it comes to that stuff. um I know that you, just because I know you work in sales, you're meeting people all the time, right? And you're having different experiences. How has therapy helped you like manage those daily encounters with people? How does
No, yeah, 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 for sure. I get where you're going with it. Man, I meet just about everything, all kind of different backgrounds, different beliefs. You know, it helps because it allows for me to realistically not judge, right? Because you don't know, you're walking into somebody's home who is their safe space. It's really
Mhm.
their safe space, and they're allowing for me to partake in a conversation on a potential investment, right? Because I do sales for roofing and solar, and it's allowed for me to actually do my best to help them understand what it is that I know, because I'm the roofing consultant, right? And I'm the professional. Regardless whether you go with me or not, it's my job to inform you and be aware of the do's and don'ts. And it's ultimately your decision whether you want to work with me or not, because I can't tell you what to do with your finances, right? But it allows for me not to judge, because, man, you'd be surprised. Like, some of the people that I walk into, and I'm just like, oh man, this is a this is a pretty busy house. They have hoarders, and they got 17 cats, and it's like, holy shit, the stench is crazy. There's no way in fuck these people are gonna buy. And then it's just like, boom, where do I sign? How much was the deposit? Oh, damn. I'm like, holy shit. I I jumped ahead. I didn't allow for things to play out. In the flip side, there's people that I go to Hillsboro that got $5.7 million homes, and you got nanny doing their thing while I'm meeting with mom and pops, and they're just like completely against spending because they're so aware of like their finances, and they want to go with so they're for example, they're equity rich, right? They have the property, but they don't have too much money in their pockets. And so that's
Yeah.
there's differences there. But going back to your question, it's just allowed for me to really get to know the people and allow for that relationship to happen, because it's really based on a relationship building, right? Relationship building, and not coming as a judgmental person, because they have their beliefs based on what they've experienced in their lives, and they've been influenced by something just similar to what I have. And I can't be um, too judgmental. I have to be okay with, well, something must have happened to this guy that he's so fucking grouchy, right?
Mm.
There's something that happens in his life that he's just like, I feel like I'm gonna be that old man, like, get off my grass. I tell my wife, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be that grouchy guy, like, hey, get your fucking dog, get off my grass, you know.
Yeah.
But just to you don't know what people or what they've been through. Sometimes I walk in, it looks like they're having a bad day, and you know, hey, let's reschedule. I think we'll have a better time, better turnaround if we can reschedule this. It'll also work out for me, and we can take our time with it.
Mm.
Or you have somebody that's having a great day, and it comes with these challenges, but it's allowed for me to really slow things down and not be about the money, but be about the relationship, because it's an ongoing relationship that's meaningful, and actually caring and helping gets me further,
Yeah.
gets me further there. Yeah.
That makes sense. Because what I wanted you to get at to as well is the importance of the emotional awareness that they teach you in sales, right?
Yeah.
Like how they tell you how you have to be aware of the emotion, you have to pay attention to the different personality types and do all that, which is something
Yeah.
that I'm sure like Norma does all the time in her therapist work. Is like, okay, I have to be aware once again of what am I
Yeah.
dealing here, what is the approach, what's the personality there, and I know that's something that they teach you as well, right? Where
For
you have
sure.
to be aware of like this person's this person's that, and how do you manage those things, and also they're not taking it personally, right? They're like not taking
Hmm.
the no as like personally, and you continue and have like a positive mindset and all that stuff. I know that we talked a lot of times about it, how that's also related, and it kind of goes together with what your growth has happened in therapy. It's also helped you a lot in sales.
Yeah. It's all about depending on who the individual is. We get a good idea, and we're not supposed to assume what they are, but through questions that we ask, we'll see what the individual, how they move, right? If it's a D,
Mhm.
they're very direct. They're like, cut the bullshit. Just tell me where we're at, and I'll tell you if I'm gonna buy it or not. There's the old ladies where they're like, I want to sit here for a while, have a cup of tea. Let's talk about cats and my grandpa. I mean, my grandson and how he's in the Navy, and they it just depends. You got to cater to their personality.
Yeah.
So definitely has allowed for me to understand, like, okay, I'm dealing with this. I gotta mirror that so that it can kind of allow for something to happen there.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Good.
and
Good.
and a little bit of like what you're talking about with the same thing, like with with your therapist, the first therapist was like, no, I didn't vibe with her, the connection wasn't there. And then in sales, like what you do is like you got to build that connection.
You have to.
So it's connecting people, connecting is
Connect.
important.
Yeah.
Good
And it's
connect.
like you don't even have to be robotic about shit. It just be human. Like, hey, at the end of the day, you're wanting to buy a roof. Um, I'm the man. I will help you as much as I can. the price is the price. There's nothing I can do there, but I'm here for you, and I'm gonna vouch for you. When things go wrong, I will show up and make them feel like they can go to sleep at night in peace, and they're making the right decision, right? So
Yeah.
definitely plays a role there. Definitely plays a
Hmm.
role.
Yeah. Have you talked to anyone like outside of like obviously myself or other friends or family members that you're going to therapy, and like how have they reacted or what are the things that you're getting from it?
That's actually like something that I love to do if they're willing to listen, right? Because I have to. I what I look for is the right time to bring it up. And it can be spontaneous. It can be at a get together, and I'm like, "Motherfucker, have you ever thought about therapy?" And I can just
Therapy?
drop it on them, like,
You
"Yo,
need it.
like
You.
motherfucker, like you, my boy. Let me tell you something. It's like that shit." And I tell it like it is. If you do and you attend to some sort of therapy, you will not regret it. Like I was like, that was the best decision of my life. Check it out. Right? Check it out. And it can be in any setting, but I like to hit it where it's emotionally a conversation where it's like, "Hey, man, I'm pretty proud of how you're doing." Because it's one thing to flash and like be like, "Look at how I'm doing. I'm happy, and I'm social media happy, and I'm living my best life," and kind of wanting to put this image of what you want people to think of you, and it's
Mhm,
like another of how are you really doing, right?
mhm,
And so people, I don't, it's on everybody how they approach that. But I know that when I see somebody struggling, and I'm like, damn, this fucker needs my help, and I'm just like, I'm gonna do what I can to. And so if I get them at a time where they're wanting to talk, because usually it'll be like, how are you managing, bro? Like, you got this and you got that going on. I'm just like, you really want to have that conversation? Are you ready for it? Because I'm down to help you, and it's gonna, but you got to write it out. And so definitely, I share that with as many people as possible, and I try to convince them, but it's not until they're ready. And that's where I don't have the control, right? It's not till when they are willing, and that's the thing that I have to learn.
mhm.
Because of course,
Yes.
as much as I can want it for anybody, it's tough because it's the same with me. I wasn't ready for the longest, and until I was like, "Oh shit, it's like that. All right, cool. Well, I guess we're going. I guess I guess we're going."
O te
Let
pones
me.
chido o a la chingada, tú
Yeah,
vele.
pretty much. Pretty much.
Pues así por las buenas, sí.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. You
I
know.
I had a thought and then I lost it.
Yeah.
It'll come back.
Yeah, it'll come back to me because as you were talking, I'm like, oh yes, yes, I wanna follow this up, but I lost it.
Mhm. I guess
Yeah.
sometimes it's challenging, right? And that's the hard part of seeing that, and that's I think part of the journey that like that I'm having, and the thing that I think the same thing with you, Norval. Like, how do we? It's tough to see people like that, suffering, right? And then you gotta
Mhm,
sit there and like wait, and kind of be like, fuck, like you can benefit so much from this, like it'll
mhm,
help you out, and then you have to like take this approach and stuff, which is like, yeah, I'm still learning that. Like, just so you know,
mhm.
like Norma's therapy thing is called Floreciendo, right? So she talks about how she plants seeds. And then she told me, like, well, by the shit how you handle yourself, it seems like you just fucking go and like you bring the whole tree and you plant it in there, because I'm super fucking aggressive. She's like, I try dropping seeds and you just feels like you show up and put the tree in the fucking middle of the living room and here, like, deal with that shit.
Because
Um,
sometimes it's a lot. Sometimes it is a lot, right? Because like
Yeah.
even as you were talking about your experience, Herman, when the therapist is like, the last 4 times that this has happened, like you've you've been triggered, my man, and you're like, what? Like sometimes you're not even
Yeah.
like ready, and then you then get flooded with like, oh shit, when I did this with my brother, and then with my parents, and then with my partner, and then with a friend, and it's just like hold the fuck up. Like I wasn't even ready for that. Um, so for some people, you have to take those baby steps. You need to be like, hey, let me just like give you this a little bit of piece of information, right? And then later, and it's funny, like in the therapy room, sometimes I talk like out of my ass, and not like talking out of my ass as in like I don't mean what I say, but just like a lot of how I what drives my work is just like thoughts that come in the moment, right? Like it's not something that's like planned out, kind of like your therapist. And then clients will come the next session and they'll be like, I have been thinking a lot about what you said. And I'm like, "I- what did I say? Like, I have no fucking idea what they're talking about. Right. But some things, sometimes I say something and that is like a big thing for them where like, oh, like that's a motherfucking
Mhm.
treat for me when maybe it wasn't intended. And sometimes I'll be like, here's this little piece of information. I'm just gonna put that out there, plant that seed, and it'll die. It'll go over their heads, which is okay. But sometimes like that part of knowing how to approach people is super super important, because sometimes when, or a lot of the times where you try to be like, hey, do this, like change this, go to therapy, the more we do that, even though it comes from a well-intentioned place, the more people are going to be like, you can go fuck off, like leave me the fuck alone, like I'm not going to do that. And because a lot of times you're taking that autonomy and that freedom away from people. And so it is part of like just taking a step back. As much as it hurts to see other people that we love hurting, ni
Yeah.
modo way, like there's nothing we can do, we
Yeah.
can't rescue people.
It's just like it feels like it's like, come on, motherfucker, I got the secret sauce.
Mm-hmm.
Like add this
Mm-hmm.
fucking sauce and you're gonna fucking shit yourself. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the shit. I got the secret sauce, motherfucker. Come on. But then it's like, fuck, you're not ready for
Yeah.
the sauce.
You're not ready for the sauce.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's the
But
difficult thing. You're not ready for the sauce. I got the sauce, but you're not ready for the sauce.
Yes.
And
yeah.
I need you to, yeah, we just gotta go with the flow.
Yeah.
Gotta
What
go with
I'm
the flow.
how I'm learning, because it's been a tough journey for me to learn that stuff. What I'm figuring out is that I can lead with love. I
Mm-hmm.
can just be the example. I can give you the space. I could be the person that doesn't judge you. I could be the person that doesn't I mean, the person that gives the space to your feelings, that validates your emotions and your feelings. And a lot of times that's enough to kind of get the ball rolling without you saying, like, you have to go to therapy. You get me? Like, if I just start being that person that, like I said, validates their feelings, leads with love, and is more understanding, that, like, you can see change start to create because the bond starts to grow with me because they can start being themselves more, and feel loved, feel validated, feel heard. So I don't have to mention anything about going anywhere. It's just about allowing them to do that, that creates that. Eventually they'll be like, what the fuck, something starts clicking when you're allowed to be like, this person is different. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't make it too much about myself, but like, we did talk about Paper Tigers, which, German, if you want to watch it, I know you'll be interested about it, like the documentary, like Norma recommended, and I started watching it today. It's about high school students and like how they're from so far, how their childhood traumas have affected them and shit, and like how they're approaching it, like the teachers and all that stuff. So like, it's very, very interesting. Very interesting. I definitely recommend for you to watch it, and it'll just be like, once again, reassuring everything that we're kind of talking about, and leading with that, with love, and how important it is. Oh, and the point was that I've always talked about, um my journey started with like the after school program, and at the beginning, the documentary is like, yeah, it takes one adult that loves you, and that shows, or that is there in the right way, that allows you to be yourself, to change. And like, yeah, like fucking, Luis Escobar was that person that started to do that for me. That was some person that didn't judge me, that allowed me to be myself, um that show that they truly care, not like any other teacher. And fuck, like, you can see the impact to this day. That was kind of like what started all, so like, try to become that person, like, at least for myself, and try to remember, like, yeah, sometimes I, it's acceptable with certain people to be super aggressive, and sometimes I just gotta like lead with love, and that's it.
Mhm.
Lead with the fucking love.
The thing that I learned the hard way is that even though that intent is there, some people just don't. They're not. They're just gonna be like, "Cool story, bro." Like, I don't. I appreciate where you're coming from, but you know,
Yeah.
next. And then it's like,
Yeah.
fuck, I'm so motivated, and I'm like, bro, like I got you, but then it's just like, it's not there, it's not the time, and I've learned to respect people's point of views and allow for and hope that one day they catch on and then we can catch up, right?
Hmm.
Because then that's what would be the best turnaround there. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
yeah.
sometimes like you're if we go back to the example or the analogy of planting seed, sometimes you throw a seed on concrete and no va a servir, right? Like it's not gonna fucking flourish because that is not fertile soil. Um, maybe within the cracks of the concrete, you'll
Órale.
eventually, right?
Fucking
Like
Tupac over here.
There will come out a rose.
I know that Camaro.
You know that poem, right, Norma?
I do not.
Okay, so this is your
There you
homework.
go.
Okay.
The rose that grew from the concrete poem by Tupac. You're gonna fucking love it, and yeah, there's gonna be in your office in the back of the thing.
I'm looking it up right now
I'll remind
as
you.
the rose
Pull it up.
that
It's very short. Pull it up and read it. The rose that grew from concrete from Tupac.
That's gonna be
okay.
your new. That's gonna be your new.
1 second here. I might get it faster than you.
No, I'm
Ready?
reading it right now.
Okay. Whoa, you're supposed to read it out loud. You have
Oh,
people
read it
just
out.
fucking waiting.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Did you hear about the rose that grew from a crack in the concrete? Proving nature's laws wrong, it learned to walk without having feet. Funny it seems, but by keeping its dreams, it learned to breathe fresh air. Long live the rose that grew from concrete when no one else even cared.
I told you that's gonna be your shit.
Oh my god, I do need that poem framed because it goes with my theme of floreciendo therapy.
Yeah,
I
Yep.
love it.
I knew you would like that.
Hmm. Thank you. Thank you for that little gift today.
No problem. That understanding of like that you said, German, going back to you said about understanding the perspective, I think is something that I've noticed a lot on you, right? Like if you can think of, I mean, I know if you can think of an example of that, because I know we talked about how important it is, right, to put yourself in the position of other people and put yourself in their shoes to be like, oh, maybe they're not just being assholes, maybe there's something going on, you know? I know it's something that we talked about in the past, and it definitely helps to have that mentality.
Yeah, I think now um I think what it has allowed for conversations to spark up and kind of continue and see that is, and I'm trying to think of like a specific one, but I can't think of something specific. But it happens with, for example, my dad, right? Where they have these beliefs and my dad is older. He's been
Mm.
through life. He's been through shit. He's been through some real shit. And sometimes I have those deep conversations of like, how did you manage, bro? Like, pops, like, how did you manage to fucking take care of three of us and like, and completely just come from Mexico, carrying my younger brother on your shoulders and fucking taking that risk of like, holy shit, we're gonna go for a new change and being here and busting your ass on the daily, you know, shit. We went through a roller coaster for real, and it's almost like they, when I talk to somebody, they're so sure of what they believe, right? Because they're like, well, this young buck over here trying to talk to me about certain topics, and they've been there, they've done that, and they feel they have a good grip of everything. But then
Mhm.
through what I've learned, I'll hit them with the little one where they're like, "Oh shit." He was not gonna tell me like right then and there, but he's like, "Appreciate you talking to me and kind of giving me a different perspective, right?" Because it's hard to listen, which is something that I've learned. It's you have to listen, and that's what really has been very key um, thing that I've learned is to really just listen because everybody goes through their share of shit. They have their ideas based on their experiences, and by listening, it really has allowed for that to kind of come about. And you know, it's difficult to kind of hold back because you just want to give certain answers or you want to, but you have to allow for that moment to be felt, right?
Hmm.
Um, and this I don't even know where the fuck I'm going with it, but
That's
It
okay.
happens. It's late.
That's it.
right, it's just awesome to be able to do that, and for me, for like my dad to even have a conversation of that level, because we have it all the time, thankfully. But with when you can have that with somebody you truly care about, like my dad, I'll hit up my mom and we'll just talk about life. Like, yo, like we're all right. We're all right. You're all right. You don't have to fucking, like we would mention to my pops, you don't have to work your ass off. You already did what you did. You know, you don't have to prove to anybody. You're not being judged, right? The only one that's judging is you. You're judging yourself and thinking that that's what you have to do. But yeah, it's dope. It's
Mm.
definitely dope to have that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
On on the other side with because we've talked about a lot of like benefits of going to therapy and how it has helped you. um the flip side of the coin, have you faced any stigma around it when talking about it, like maybe like that throwing the seed a concrete and then them somebody hitting you back with some backlash, stigma, taboo around it? Have you faced that, and how have you managed it if that has been the case?
As in, like, you mean like talking to somebody myself or
Hmm.
like a specific individual? Yeah, I think for it's not too much that I get like man, I'm trying to think of if anyone who, well, yeah, because it's just the belief. It's just like I don't need that shit, right? Like you're tripping. Like, yeah, I get what you, because it comes from from an angle of like, oh, here comes German the therapist, like Mister Fucking, I'm doing better now, and now you're gonna tell me fucking, and I'm just like, no, bro, like I just, I want to share it, and what I've done is just like, well, it's working for me, and I know that it's gonna work for you, and I can't wait till you experience what I've experienced. But please don't knock it until you try it, right? Like don't get ahead of yourself. Um, man, there's really no way to kind of explain like how impactful it has been.
Mm.
And so usually, if if it depends on the individual, but I just there's nothing that I just get disappointed when it just turns out to be like that, and that level of disappointment from being so excited to have that conversation and then shutting it down.
Mhm.
I feel like it can create an argument, right? Because it's like, no, you're fuck. Then it turns into insulting, which then is counteractive, which doesn't lead to much. And so I've learned to step back, to step back and just not necessarily let it be, but you know, allow for them to make their choice there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Mm.
I don't know if that really answers your question there, but
Yeah. Um,
yeah.
It does. It does. It does for sure. Go ahead, Steve.
we can edit it out if you don't want to answer it in public. I know you talked about it before, but Um, how do you think therapy has helped you with Camila? And if you want to share with maybe new listeners what her situation
Yeah,
is.
no, it's I think having um so to give a little bit of background, my daughter was diagnosed with autism, and initially I was taken back by it as it was delivered to me through a text by my wife, right? Which she was very emotional, and she needed me. I was working. She was very emotional, and I recall that exact moment, and I was just taken back, like autism. What am I? What changes? What do I need to do? How do I need to cater from this point forward? Like, how do I prepare? How do
Mm-hmm.
I make sure that I do what I need to do to provide the best resources, whatever I can do? And the thing is that I was very limited. So the way that, and kind of getting to answer your question, was I had to learn to be okay with me playing my role as a father and a provider, to allow my wife to give my daughter the best opportunity at life and development. Because for me, I felt very disappointed as a father figure because I was working, and
Mm.
I've been working. It's been more of providing, which then I haven't really been in the involved in all these schooling and therapy sessions and all that. And I would, cry. I still fucking cry, so I cry. And I would cry, and I would get emotional, and I was like, yo, like, you're fucking up. And I would talk myself down. You're fucking
Mm.
up. You're not doing this. Like, I know you're doing good in work, but guess what? You're fucking up at home. And I was like, fuck, well, how can I make this better? What am I missing? I can't be the only one going through some shit like this. There's no way. And so, of course, she required a lot of attention. And I brought it up to the therapist. And we kind of had to have a mutual agreement with my wife, and like, well, somebody has to get it, right? Because we need a roof over our head. And man, I couldn't ask for a fucking better wife, because she's a fucking badass, bro. She's all the way around. I'm in love, bro. I'm in love.
We
I'm
love
in love. Hell
that.
yeah. Hell yeah. I'm in love. Fuck, man. I can't stress it enough. How happy I am because of the acceptance that I've gotten um from my partner, and how badass she is at actually being the best mom possible, and how caring. When you see somebody actually love your kids like they do, that shit literally fucking breaks my heart. And it's just like, man, I've never seen so much joy, right? I've never seen so much joy and so much love behind somebody there. And it's rewarding. It's like, I needed this. You
Mm.
deserve this, fucking German. This is you, baby. You deserve this shit. And I'm just, bro, like, I to this fucking day, like today, I have never in my life been happier than I've been, like, today. Never. And it's because of fucking therapy. Literally. Uh, it's opened up so many doors. It's opened up doors to the journey of reading and understanding things. Shit, in high school, read a book? Never, bro. Never. I never read a fucking book. You could ask me, hey, what book? Shit, I couldn't even name one, But now I've been introduced to, and we've kind of read a few of them together, right? Um, and it's awesome to see all that play out, because we're living, we're learning. And with Camila, it really taught me how to be patient, you know and how to be accepting of what your role is, because I had to have somebody explain it to me and tell me, you're good, and I
Mm-hmm.
was seeking for that. Like, I was seeking that from somebody that can credit me and be like, what the fuck, am I really not doing shit right? Like, am I, but he kind of reassured me, and like, you're good, bro. You do your thing. Understand where you're at. um There's nothing else that your daughter would probably want to ask for. And of course, don't forget about being there, right? Because you definitely have to be there. But you can't hate yourself, or you can't put yourself down because you're doing what needs to be done, you know. And so through that, through me busting my ass, it's created freedom that now allows the reward of spending time with them and taking them to places shit I never thought I was gonna go. I mean, we fucking booked a vacation to Hawaii. I fucking never thought I was gonna ever go to fucking Hawaii, and I'm excited. You know, we get to go to Disneyland. We get to go to things that I never thought, and it's because we're hustling, because we have our mind right. There's nothing else that I can blame it other than mental health, and then just having that refreshing. Every week we have to like check in, right? We check in with each other.
Mhm.
Um, hey babe, how you doing? Right? Oh fuck, man, I'm stressed out. I can't do this. I can't do that. Can you do this? Cool. I'll pick up. I'll do this. I got you. You know, she does so much more for me, but I got to show up too. And so, with Camila, it's it's what taught me to be patient. I had to learn because it was something that I was not aware of, the changes and the obstacles and the challenges that would come with it. But I've
Mhm.
learned to be even more receptive because I literally have it in my home of somebody that sees the world differently and does not have to follow society's, expectations.
Yeah.
And it's fucking beautiful, and I'm jealous. I'm jealous because she has no fucking worries in the world, and she's fucking happy, full of joy, jumping 24/7 to the point where she'd be up at 2 a.m. jumping, and I'm just like fucking. I'm so happy. So
Yeah.
it's definitely challenging, but it's so rewarding. So
Yeah.
rewarding.
I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. And that part where you're like, I'm so jealous. I have a comadre who um my ahijado, he's also autistic, and we were there. I live in Mexico, and we're in a video call. And then I'm like, ¿Cómo estás, comadre? And she's like, here, I'm folding clothes, I'm doing this, and da 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 da. Da. And I'm like, how's Diego? And he's like, bien. And then like he points the camera to her, and this kid's like, yeah, bien. He's just like doing circles backwards, like over and over, and he just like keeps doing that, and I'm like, I want that life. I want that life because he's like, he has no motherfucking care in the world. All he needs is like, make sure you feed me, make sure you give me something too, because he loves things that like go in circles. It's like, just give me
Yeah.
that, and I'm like fucking set. I'm like, that sounds like a pretty fucking good life if you ask me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
So
that
it's
sounds good.
yeah, it's good.
I'm good with the questions. I don't know if you got any more, Norma.
No, no. I'm gonna cry. I'm definitely gonna cry. I am. This is a big reminder of like why we're doing this, right? Of like these conversations, how healing they are. Because then I'm like, even though like we hadn't talked in like years, right? Like probably since high school,
Yeah.
and to see still like the growth, like the happiness that you are experiencing right now, because you're mentioning like I've never been happier in my life. And it's so fulfilling to see people from my community, right, that like we don't come from a place of like a lot of privilege, so being able to see some people like you too be in a good place, whether it's financial, mental health, with their babies, with a happy relationship, I'm like, that makes my heart so full. So thank you for sharing the joy. Me
Yeah.
llevo eso conmigo hoy, like I'm just to hear your story. um Thank you, thank you, I'm
Yep.
super grateful.
Yeah. Yeah. Right on. No problem. No problem.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say the same thing that I thought about from the beginning of the podcast. I am very proud of you. I am proud of your growth. I'm proud of how much you've learned, how much you've learned. I'm proud of who you're becoming. I'm excited to see who you're gonna be, and I'm excited to see where our relationship is gonna go. And to see how you continue to grow up, and like I said, just continue to do better and continue the Kaizen stuff, right? If you guys don't
Yeah.
know, we have
Yeah.
matching tattoos. In Japanese, that means Kaizen, so it means continuous growth, right? So that's the thing that we got together. So yeah, just continuing that stuff. Like I said, I'm super proud of you, and I can't wait to see where your life goes. As you continue to put in the work and continue to grow and shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. It means a lot to get the opportunity to be a part of your guys' podcast. Slowly but surely we gonna put it on the map, and I look forward to what else you guys bring into the table because everybody has their story. Everybody has their share of shit that they've been through, right? Like I would never have imagined my life to be how it is today, and that's what motivates me to inspire others because it's not like like I said, everybody you define wealth the way you would define it as per individual,
Mhm.
but just know that whenever you feel something is off, whenever you feel something is not right, know that you're probably not the only one that's feeling that, right? And reach out for help.
Yes.
Like definitely contact and sometimes friends might not be the best resource because they don't have that right advice, which might fuck you up instead of helping you. So
Yeah.
if you need to reach out to the professionals and allow for them to do their part and really go in open hearted, which if there's fucking if there's anything you can take from this podcast is if it was able to change me, it can definitely make a change in you, right? It can definitely be something where it's so rewarding and so exciting because you have a lot to look forward to in life, right? I can just
Mhm.
imagine my kids growing up and how much more memories you're gonna have and overall, right? You have your girls, um, we have family events. Now it's gonna be two quinceañeras. Like I don't know how I'm gonna do that, but
Four,
four
4 in 7
quinceañeras,
years, four in
and
seven
that's
years.
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Madrina
Wow.
normal,
So
luego, madrina de salón, de banda, de platos, de comida, la chingada.
Nomás avísenme con tiempo para ir haciendo la alcancía
yeah,
ahí, porque
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and enjoy life to the fullest. Let's not
Mhm.
also. At least that's what I say. Don't take everything too fucking serious. We're here for a short time, for a good time, and really fucking cherish what you have. And once you start seeing things differently and appreciating them for what they are, step back. So one thing that I like to do is step back whenever you're in a family setting or you're in that event where you're like, fuck, when like for example, my grandma was around us, and her coming from Mexico is not that's often that can happen, and shit, you never know when the last hurrah might be. So it's kind of like it's dope to kind of just step back and like visualize everything and kind of see it from an outer perspective and just see like, holy shit, we're enjoying ourselves. Steve
Mhm.
looks to be happy right now. Pops looks like he's having a good time flipping that carne over there. Sal's with his girl. Everything is fucking great. Let's fucking
Mhm.
go. And then just jump back in. Like we're good. you know? And so
Yeah.
Yes.
that's definitely something awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Sounds good. Yep. All right. So we're just gonna remind you guys because you said reach out. You can reach out to us.
Mhm.
Mindfulpodcastliving@gmail.com. You can send us an email. We can help out in whatever it is that you can with at least venting, to us. Um, we're also thinking about starting either a WhatsApp group or a Facebook group or something where we can communicate with each other. If you're struggling with anything, if you need any kind of help, any advice, you just want to vent or something, we're gonna work on putting something together. I
Mhm.
do want to ask you guys, if to the listeners out there, let yourself be known. If you're interested in it, send us an email, drop a comment somewhere, do that so that we
Mhm.
know that you guys are listening. I know it's not something easy to talk about. The fucking taboo of mental health. It's not easy to talk about. It's not something that is easy to share. So, but I mean, if you ever need it, we'll be here regardless, whether you have your name on it or not. We see we see the people are listening. We look at the views and all that stuff, so we know you guys are out there. But yeah, if you ever need anything, just reach out to us, and we'll be here.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Anything else? We're good.
No, do we have any current events? I don't think we talked about current events today.
No current events today.
No current events. Okay.
We'll
Para
figure
la otra.
something out afterwards. Yeah. All right. Take care, guys.
Thank
Peace.
you.
Bye.